Welcome to I Woke Up Like This. I'm your host, Dr. Claudia Thompson, and today we're going to talk about how to be a Norman. And if you're like, Claudia, what is a Norman? I would have said the exact same thing to you this morning. Because earlier today, while I have a plan of episodes to record and film for this podcast, I don't always feel in alignment with the things scheduled. And one of the beauties of doing these kinds of episodes on my own is that if I decide I am not in alignment with that particular topic on that particular day, I can switch. So I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to talk about today. And lo and behold, the guides presented the option to me. As I was pulling out of my neighborhood to go to Pilates, I saw a license plate that said Norman. And I immediately thought to myself, what does that mean? Because while I know Norman is a name, this was not how it was resonating for me when I saw it. And today in particular, I am not feeling my best. And one of the reasons that I felt like I needed to shift topics was because I am feeling uncomfortable in my body today for a multitude of reasons. I just finished up a 76-hour fast. I'm working with a couple of really experienced practitioners on removing energy and getting an old stagnant energy to move out of my muscle tissue. So I have a lot of stuff moving around in my body right now, which makes me kind of uncomfortable. Which is why, even though it is the middle of summer, for those of you guys that can see me, that you're watching this episode on YouTube, I am wearing what I call my safety sweatshirt. I call it my safety sweatshirt because no matter how uncomfortable I feel comfortable in this sweatshirt. So I chose to film today's episode in it to make sure I was as comfortable as possible, which is where Norman comes into play. Because after a few minutes of digesting the fact that I saw the license plate that said Norman, I was like, Norman, 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 normal human, normal human. It is normal to feel uncomfortable. It is normal to not be feeling like you are accelerating at your highest and best every single moment of every single day. So today we are diving into how to be a Norman, a normal human with normal human experiences that give you a wide range of emotional feelings. They can be the highest high of joy and happiness and unconditional love, and they can be low where you feel pain or fear or shame or guilt or all of these things, but we are living out a normal human experience. So we need to be living in a space where we're allowed to give ourselves grace to be a Norman. And I think there's three key areas that we really need to learn to give ourselves grace in these moments. And they are mind, body, and soul. When it comes to mind and relaxing into being a Norman, one of the biggest things that comes forward in this process is negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. And when we're not feeling at the top of our game, these things tend to creep in. They want to take hold. They want to, for lack of a better term, ruin your vibe. So when you're having days where you're not feeling your best, it's really, really important to take note of the thoughts that are coming across your mind as you're going through these experiences. What are you saying to yourself? How are you reaffirming yourself? And one of the keys to relaxing into being a normal human through this is allowing those thoughts to pass through with non-judgment. Because there are times that these thoughts are going to creep in where you feel like you may not be at the top of your game, where you feel like you might not be worthy or you might not be enough of whatever it is you're stepping into. These times tend to come right before a big breakthrough. That saying, it's always darkest before the dawn, that saying is a saying for a reason because things get sticky and difficult before you break through to a new level. So be mindful of the thoughts, but be mindful in a way that is non-judgmental, where just because you had a negative thought about yourself doesn't mean you need to grab onto that negativity and think additional negative thoughts. It's very much like watching clouds pass through in the sky. You see the clouds are there, but unless you were to grab onto them, they're going to continue on and eventually move out of your peripheral. So, approaching things with non judgment when you have negative thoughts and giving yourself grace in those moments is how you can lean into being a Norman in these moments, a normal human. A normal human has negative thoughts from time to time. A normal human allows those thoughts to move through them without holding on to them. A normal human sees them for what they are, simply thoughts, simply limiting beliefs, things that we haven't completely removed from our brain space, from our subconscious yet. And a big piece of this healing and awakening process is being kind to yourself when these things crop up. Because when they crop up, that's an opportunity to approach them differently. That is an opportunity to throw more grace and more kindness at them. And that allows them to not stick to you as much as they did in the past. So instead of looking at having these things float to the surface as a negative, look at them as a positive. They're an opportunity for you to make a different decision in each and every single moment that they crop up. A lot of what we experience in this lifetime is about perception. It's about how we perceive our experience. So when you're leaning into the normal human experience, understand that you're going to have things that you need to work through. You're going to have things that you need to heal. You are not intended to be a sterile, perfect being. You are meant to work through a lot of ups and downs, making your experience more engaging, more meaningful as you do. The next area is our body. Our body can store a lot of experiences. It can store a lot of traumatic memories, and it stores an awful lot of energy. So there are going to be times where you are uncomfortable in your body. There are going to be times where it can be physically painful to work through healing. There are going to be times where you may feel like you want to crawl out of your own skin. These types of feelings are normal, and the best way to deal with them, again, is to approach yourself with grace and kindness. What do you need to feel better, or as best as you possibly can as you work through these things? For me today, I needed to wear shorts and I needed to wear a sweatshirt. Anything else would have made me additionally more uncomfortable in my body. And the last thing you want to do in these moments is make yourself more uncomfortable. You want to try and find ways to make yourself more comfortable through the uncomfortableness. And it's really important that we need to be kind to our body. So, just like the thoughts that creep up, a lot of times we have negative thoughts and feelings about our bodies. So, those thoughts that we're keeping in check are also playing into the comfortableness in your body, because the nicer that you are in your own mind, speaking affirmations towards your body, the more comfortable you will become in it. There's lots of different tactics that we can use to become more comfortable in our body. Some of those tactics are cold therapy, breath work. We can do yoga, we can do stretching, movement, grounding techniques. All of these items will make you feel more comfortable in your body. And this is a practice, and it's learning what combination of those things helps you move through being in a physical body as an energetic being. What makes that easier for you? So, when it comes to being a Norman, being a normal human is feeling uncomfortable sometimes. And it's being kind and giving yourself grace in those moments to breathe your way through it, to move your way through it until you hit a more comfortable patch. The next component of this is your soul. So when we are struggling a lot, it's often because we have set a standard that is so high that is unreachable at the current moment in every single moment. We have to give ourselves, again, more grace and more kindness as we're moving through towards the higher version of ourselves. Because what our soul knows, what our higher self knows, is that we were supposed to go through all of these different versions of ourselves in order to get to where we're going, because that is part of the normal human experience. The normal human experience for a soul is to come here and to learn lessons and overcome and grow and change and develop deeper connections and become more authentic. If you came here and had everything all figured out, it would be quite boring for you. And so, if you feel like you're struggling to reach these higher versions of yourself, if you feel like you're struggling to connect with your higher self, with your soul, a lot of times we have to really keep it simple. We have to go back to the present moment. We have to go back to very simple behaviors, being grateful for our breath that we take, being able to move our bodies in the ways that we are able to, being able to go outside and see the sunshine, being able to enjoy a meal. Simple things serve the soul. You don't have to quantum leap to your highest self every single day. It's a process. It is a day to day process. It's a moment to moment process. And finding joy and finding happiness in all of the moments that you possibly can fills your soul. It fills your cup. And I think it's really important to note that the soul came here to do these things. The soul came here to have a human experience. So being a Norman, being a normal human, doing normal human things is part of this growth and expansion that you're undertaking for your soul. Really complex growth can take place in very simple acts. So remember this as you are moving through this normal human experience in your mind, in your body, and in your soul. It's not a bad thing to be a Norman. You've got this. Keep going.